Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, and welcome back to episode 14 of the Growth Street Podcast. I could not be more excited to be sat across from Austin Thomas, the CEO and founder of not one, but two companies, JERPA and Fit2Fulfill. And obviously, you had a great school experience went to Penn State. My brother behind the camera went there as well. Go Nittany Lions, even though I'm a Maryland fan, so not a big Penn State guy. But
Yes, sir.
He's done a lot, man, in the past couple of years, and I'm super excited to get the chance to sit across from you and have an amazing discussion about what you've done, what you've learned, and really hearing about your story and your advice.
Yeah, absolutely. And appreciate you having me on. We're definitely going to chop it up.
Yeah, man.
We've been trying to get into the podcast for like 30 minutes now, just chopping it up. But it's going to be a good one.
No, I know, dude. I feel like, again, you came here, we were talking for like 30 minutes before. I'm like, okay, we got to stop this conversation because we're going to start the podcast episode.
Yes,
but it's going to be a good one, man. So for me, I'm just glad you're here. And I think, you've done so many amazing things with your life and what you're up to now. So I'd love to hear from your perspective. How's everything going, dude? You're running all these companies, you're working a job as well. So I'd love to hear a bit more about yourself and what you're up to right now.
Yeah, absolutely. I always say like my best self is my busy self. So I try and keep myself busy, but I think it's just like taking one step at a time. So right now I'm doing JERPA, obviously, which everyone knows about. And then I just recently started my second company, which was Fit2Fulfill. So obviously running those two companies. And then I feel like everyone always thinks it's like entrepreneur or corporate, right? There's never any like mix. But I'm fortunate enough to be working at a boutique consulting firm, fairly small, but my boss, the company, everyone understands what I'm doing entrepreneurially, and it's a blessing in disguise, which is awesome. So doing all that, and then just weekend gigs. I'm starting to MC as well. My brother's DJing, so it's gonna be a cool little brother duo. Yeah. And then I've just got my real estate license as well, which I'll be announcing and talking about that, which is pretty cool. But just trying to stay busy. They say you need 7 streams of income, so I'm working my way over there.
Dude, busy's an understatement. You're doing like 5 different things. But dude, for one, I saw your best man speech. So that you're a natural on the camera.
You doing your research.
Dude, you have to, man. We got to make sure we're prepared. But yeah, so out of everything, I'd love to hear how your time is kind of spent across, because again, even me, so you said, there's a balance of your work in terms of your companies, but also your job. I fully committed to this. So this is my full time.
Yep.
And sometimes I'm even like, I don't have enough time in the day. For context, Saturday night, Saturday at 5 p.m. I started working on editing the podcast that we just released 2 weeks ago for Jamie Diglio. And then I literally work from 5 p.m. until 12 a.m. the next morning. Because that's the life, I feel like, of an entrepreneur. Yeah. So I can't even imagine doing that on top of, working a full-time job and getting, your real estate license, being an MC as well. So how do you do everything, man? I love to know how you kind of figure it all out.
Yeah. I think it honestly started in college. Like when I was in college, my freshman year, I had like D3 offers and things like that from basketball, but I always just wanted to go to a big school. And my freshman year, I just tried out to walk on the Penn State basketball team. 18 kids had tried out. They called back 4 of us, and then they called 2 of us and said, hey, there's no roster spots, but we want you to be a practice player.
Oh, wow.
So I ended up being a practice player for my freshman and sophomore year. But now you're talking, you got college coursework, right? And then you also have practice from, 3 p.m. all the way to, it ends at 8 p.m. after practice, film. They call it training table, which is you eat with the team, all that stuff. So now all of a sudden where kids were, Netflix and chilling, I'm getting back from practice. I got to go do my homework and things like that. So it definitely started back then in terms of just gaining a sense of time management. But then also I just feel like some people overcomplicate it, right? Or they get so overloaded with, oh, I got to edit this podcast. I got to make 8 shorts. Think of one short at a time, and then before you know it, you've got the whole cake kind of cut out. So I think you just got to do it one thing at a time. Yeah. I didn't start JERPA Fit2Fulfill, real estate MC all like one time, just kind of altered it. And I also just read this book. I think it's called Buy Back Your Time is the exact title, but it really just talks about, you and Elon Musk have the same 24 hours, right? There's no, time is the only asset you can't create more of. But in terms of like a lot of the stuff, you got to do what you do best, right? Which is podcasting. And then you outsource a lot of the other stuff to people behind the camera who are able to do the editing and things like that, which may be their best work, right? And all of a sudden, your time is sourced where it needs to be sourced, and the rest, think about Mark Cuban, right? What any of those sharks do. They have so many companies that they're helping out, but they've got all these teams below them that help out. So I can't say I've offset that much yet but it's just a cool statement of time not being an asset you can get more of.
Yeah, I think when I think about buying back your time, I've seen so many people talk about that. It's the whole idea of like, you want your money to work for you. You know what I mean? So an example is, most companies, when they make $100,000, let's say, right, you're not going to put all that money in your pocket. You're going to say, okay, how can I make my systems more efficient? How can I put money to certain things so it allows me to focus on what I'm good at or maybe create something new. I mean, for one, just hearing about you being a basketball player, like essentially at Penn State, I mean, you were...
People aren't going to believe it. 5'8" Indian guy.
Yeah. I mean, dude, for one, like that's insane too. I can't even imagine doing that. It must have been a cool experience. Yeah. But while everyone else, again, like you basically lived the life of a student athlete essentially without being one. And then going to a big school, having these big responsibilities, being in school. How was that?
Yeah, that was like one of the dopest experiences, especially like I felt like Mike in the locker room. You know what I mean? Like I see him like, whoa. But it was definitely cool. The part of it that was like really doable was I didn't travel when they went to away games. And then home games, I'd either sit behind the bench or like one of the first few rows. Yeah. But in turn, like athletes and especially Division I athletes, like it is a full-time job. From when spring semester ends, they're back at summer. They got like 1 week, 2 weeks off, and they're back at summer session. But it was just a cool experience. Not just you see how a lot of these great athletes lead on the court, right? And like it can lead to corporate development and all those kind of things. But and the time management, what I was able to get from there, I think has led to basically everything else. In terms of the talent level, like I would say I was at my best shape, best everything when you're there. Like think about, you know, professionally, you want to be the dumbest one in the room, right? You want to be in people with people smarter than you. Is the same thing. Like I was one of the worst on that basketball court, but it's with Division I athletes and things like that. So you just, you know, rise to that level, get kind of thrown in the pond.
Yeah, I mean, that's how you get better for one, right? It's like I always say that's one of the tricky parts I think about, you know, living at home is where we'll build pretty big schools, been around pretty big organizations, like you being part of Penn State basketball, you're around people who are like the cream of their crop in the country at their job, right? So for me, what I always talk about is the environment matters so much. So I think even when I'm creating this company now, I'm sure you can talk about this as well because you have, you know, your two companies, that you want to surround yourself and be involved again by people who are not just like-minded, but are trying to really go out there and dominate and be the best. Because that's how you learn, right? So that's why even for me, what I talk about always on this podcast is like you are someone who's been, you know, not one, but two companies. And I get the experience to just listen to you and hear about everything that you've been working on. You know what I mean? So I'm excited about that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And no, I'm excited to be here and chop it up with you. But I feel like the like-minded part that you talked about, you know, there's a reason we could sit here for an hour, 2 hours, seriously. 3 hours.
Probably more.
just chopping it up if there wasn't a time limit. You know, it's just about kind of being with like-minded people. And I think, again, like I've told you about just being able to be yourself and not care what others think. My closest circle has always been my closest circle. It doesn't matter what I do. There's no judgment. Like people who are really your true ones, your family, your best friends, those kind of things are never going to leave your side. But that's why I think you really got to fill yourself with like-minded people. Yeah,
I think it's so important too because I'm the same way. All my friends who grew up, we can all do whatever we're going to do in life, but they are my people, right? And I think it's so easy to get distracted by the noise. I know one thing you're passionate about is like doing you. And in the social media world that we live in, you know, when it comes to LinkedIn, posting your jobs on LinkedIn or being on Instagram or, you know, recording funny Instagram reels and shorts, we think, you know, we're putting out something that we believe in, right? But it's so easy for people to say, oh my God, look at this guy putting out this corny ass Instagram reel, this TikTok. But your true tribe, you know, they're not going to be the ones shitting on you. Yeah. And it's the perspective of those who are around you that you care about that matter and not about all the noise of all the excess people. So I'm curious to hear about your perspective on that.
Yeah, I mean, especially and it's not getting better, and nor is it going to. But especially in this day and age, like, I feel like the instant gratification is like everyone is seeking that. You know what I mean? And like, if I post a video, if it doesn't have, you know, 100 likes in a day, it's a bad post, right? And I'm not saying that's the mentality, but I'm saying that's what like this generation has gone towards. But like, I forgot the exact quote, but it's something about like everyone's viewing it, but not everyone likes it, right? How your story has 1,000 views, but your post only has 10 likes, right? So I don't know. I think you can't base it off of that kind of temporary stuff. You got to base it on what you want to put out there, right? If it's a podcast and you think it's good content and you think, then you put it out there. It's not based on anybody else's approval.
I think that applies to everything. Because even my whole audience right now is mainly aged 18 to 24, right? So everyone's pretty young, either graduated from school, relatively fresh out of college, or still in school right now. And my whole thing is this applies to not just social media, but to everywhere in life, right? When it comes to you working for a certain job, if you want to chase your dreams and play basketball, whatever it is, you have to, as long as you fully believe in what you're doing, inherently, I think as long as you got to put in the effort too, things will work out. And that's what you have to focus on, because I think everyone's going to have an opinion on what you're doing. Your parents, your siblings, your cousins, your friends, people you went to high school with. For some reason, you think, oh my God, I wanted the people from high school think, or from middle school think, or from college think. But at the end of the day, doesn't matter what they think. As long as you fully believe what you do, also a lot of the times people will say, wow, he's really believing in himself. Maybe I should actually, not have this opinion of that person.
Yeah. No, and we already talked about it, but it's cringy until it's not, right?
Yep,
like, you know what I mean? Like,
that's facts.
At first, everyone's going to judge you. Like, my, I guess, nearest term thing I could talk about is the TikTok shop. One of my buddies, he made $100K in 3 months.
Wow.
Right?
So explain that. What happened with that?
TikTok shop launched this new thing. They're basically trying to compete with Amazon almost a little bit, but it's like the videos will, I'll be here talking about this jacket, right? And I'm just talking about it, and then the link is in the post. So rather than before, there used to be advertisements. Oh, link is in bio, and then you go to it and it takes you to the company's website. Now you can check out buy everything within TikTok, right? So now they've got all these affiliates that are posting within it. And, you just make a video be as organic or authentic as you want, and then you can tag it. So if you buy off of my link, I get a commission off of that, right?
Okay, gotcha.
So, I mean, it's not just clothing. There's, new protein powders. There's a bunch of other stuff. But he was selling, like, all kinds of stuff, and he made $100K in 3 months. And I saw
insane.
that. And like,
ding.
Yeah, it's just like respect. So even before that, I was always posting fashion videos, right? And that's another one of those things. Like, I'm just posting 200 views, 300 views, like, right? Some got 10K, some got 20K, but most of them were just a few hundred views. But again, it wasn't based on any of the views. It was just like something I liked doing. And I know y'all see the outfit.
Yeah, bro popped out with the fit today, man. For real.
So like, fashion's just always been something I've been into. And so it was like seamless, right? As soon as I saw that, I was like, oh, and the threshold is 5,000 followers on TikTok.
Okay.
It dropped to 1,000. Ironically, as soon as I reached out to him, like, yo, what's the deal with this? I signed up. He was one of those guys, like, they're not hiding or gatekeeping anything. He just walked me right through it. It was 1,000 followers for 2 weeks. I got in. Luckily, I was posting. I got accepted. 2 weeks later, it moved right back up to 5,000. So I started May 20th. What is today?
Today's July 9th.
July 9th. In about whatever that is, 30, 40, 45-ish days, I've made a little over $400, right? It's not groundbreaking money, and it's not 100K divided by 330K. But it's just a matter of like being able to do that. Sure, there are some videos, I'm sure people are like, yo, what's this like try hard doing? You know what I mean? But to me, it doesn't really matter. It's just about doing what makes me happy. It's right down my alleyway, which is fashion. I'm able to talk. And now what's funny is I put out probably like $70 to buy my first few products. Okay. Now, since I've made videos, brought in sales, all I have to do is click free sample. They'll send me a video so that I can make some stuff. So these shoes were free, right?
Wow,
like,
okay. They're fresh. I thought they were doing that. They're fresh.
So like everything
fresh.
I'm doing now on TikTok, I'll just add free samples, make videos for them, and it's awesome. Like, and there's some stuff that I like. Of course, some you're just trying to promote, see what you can do. Yeah. There's some stuff I got these dress pants. They're like a Lululemon type of material. Yeah. I've worn it to an open house. I've worn it to any of the MC gigs. I just like rock with it like that. So again, none of that starts if you care what others think, and it's cringy until it's not. And I know what I can do with this. So talk to me in another 30 days.
Yeah, dude, I'm excited I'm excited to see it too. And again, like, clearly there's proof of concept in it. Like, again, if someone could do 100K in 3 months, your mind has to go, how can I do the exact same thing, but how can I make even a couple thousand? Yeah. And a lot of it too is exponential, right? It's like, it's $400 today, and a year could be 4,000, and 2 years it could be 40,000.
And I think people are so, conscientious about doing some of that stuff because we're in that era of like courses, right? Where
courses and communities.
Everyone's like, buy this course and I'll teach you how to do what I did. And it's like, all right, like F this dude. Like I'm not doing that. You know what I mean? But again, he wasn't gatekeeping anything. And if somebody like 3-4 people have come up to me like, yo, what's the deal with this TikTok shop? And I'll just help them out because one of the things I respect is if you're just willing to go out there and do it. You know what I mean? And so, just being able to do it. But I think the courses is definitely is one of the things that's throwing off people these days.
Yo, I know. And it's funny because sometimes like you just want the information and then it goes to the very end of the video and you're like, shit, this like a $60 a month course now. Yeah. But that's why I think it's interesting too, because clearly you have this experience. You talk about you're interested in fashion. So now I kind of want to talk about your fashion company. I mean, you guys are going to see another video, but he brought an amazing gift for me. But I want you to talk a bit more about the company that created that piece of clothing and more about your experience as a CEO and founder of JERPA. Yeah,
absolutely. So I guess we'll go timeline-wise. It was my sophomore year. This is 2018, but I only started the company in 2019.
Gotcha.
But it was my sophomore year being at Penn State. He knows, obviously, behind the camera, going to Penn State. But Penn State's a huge football school, right? Yeah. But some of the tailgates, like you're talking 20, 30 degrees out. So people would wear like thermals and leggings under their jeans, which I've never personally done, but I feel like every company starts with like a problem solution.
Yeah,
right?
facts.
But people were wearing thermals and leggings under their jeans, and I was big into fashion. Similar to this jacket I'm wearing, there was a jean jacket lined with Sherpa. Okay. And I was always thinking, why have the pants lined with Sherpa never been made? Started sampling, reaching out to suppliers. Some of them were like, hey, we have jeans, hey, we have Sherpa, but not a lot had both. Found 5-6 suppliers that had, both, got a sample. Finally found my gold standard from a consumer preference standpoint, the Sherpa color, right? Like there was, forgot the name of the company, but they were doing jeans lined with wool, but not Sherpa. But from a consumer preference standpoint, as small as a detail as it is, consumers like the Sherpa, right? The color of the Sherpa, the look and feel of it, everything.
Yeah. The dark brown Sherpa is my favorite, bro. The dark brown
I'm more of a
crispy.
cashmere guy.
Gotcha.
But we'll talk later about that. So finally found my gold standard kind of product, and that's where the name JERPA comes from. I don't know if you saw for that, but jeans and Sherpa. Yeah. So that was our first product. That's 2019. 2020, obviously, a year later, COVID hits. My initial idea of the company was, we're going to do bootleg jeans, skinny jeans, straight leg jeans, white jeans, black jeans, but it was only jeans, right? Because I was like, what is going to differ us from a Nike or somebody else if we do everything else, right? Yeah. And that's all it was. COVID, I almost look at it as a blessing in disguise. Okay. Our jean supplier went out of business. Wow. And so now it was like, okay, what do we do now? Yeah. Again, being big into fashion, I don't want to brag about this, but high school, I was best dressed.
There you go.
You know what I mean? There you go. So just being big into fashion, I kind of knew what was going on in the scene. One of the things was hoodies had the oversized hood. Yeah. All our life, we've seen the hoodies with the strings, right? Now, all of a sudden, no hoodies have strings, right? Essentials, they do that oversized. Yeah. So then I thought about doing a hoodie lined with Sherpa, but the oversized hood, no strings, all that. Yeah. That first year, we did, I think, a little over 700 units in that fall, from like September all the way to February, in just those Sherpa-lined hoodies. And I'm like, yo, we've got so much more we can do than just jeans. And so ever since then, I still have jeans to this day in stock. And I just said how the website was 65% off because it's the summer. Ever since then, our hoodies have been like the go-to product, and that's what we do. And we can even talk about how we do a little bit of, I don't want to take up too much mic time, but the B2B aspect. Now we're doing work with like Penn State. We're doing work with Rutgers where they'll put their logos on our Sherpa-lined hoodies, awesome. That's so smart. Which is dope. So there's definitely been a little bit of a pivot in the company, but just being in fashion, being able to come with it, seeing a problem, seeing a solution, and then being able to come up with it, that's definitely a bit of JERPA, and that we'll talk about it, but that launched kind of coming out with my second company as well. Yeah,
I mean, that's what I kind of love about what you're doing is because you have a passion, bro. Being best dressed, also flex that shit. That's pretty cool. Yeah. But the fact that you're actually passionate about it and you turned it into something because you saw a problem. Yeah. I think like it takes a creative person to think that way too. Like for most people, they see like, oh, it's cold out, they're wearing jeans. Oh, damn, it sucks. But you looked at it as, wow, like there's actually something that could be done with this. And then you didn't just think about it like, oh, this would be a cool idea. Like you went and you created it. Yeah. So, I mean, for one, I think most people watching home right now are in that college age. How do you think about, when people are young, they think of these ideas? What's it actually like to, you said you created a sampler. Like you found a sample, you created one, going to all these different companies, right? So what is it like actually starting a business in your perspective?
Yeah, I talked, I don't know if you saw it on my Instagram, but I talked about it. There was a boy going through the woods and he asked the horse, how do I get through? And the horse said, can you see your next step? And he take that step. Same thing. I think so many times people come up with these ideas and they're like, oh, I need a business plan. I need a marketing plan. I need models. I need LLC. And all of a sudden they got so overwhelmed with all of this that they never even started. Yeah. Right? So I think like the biggest thing is just being able to take that first step, whatever that may be. That might be signing up for an LLC so you're so deep in that you have to keep going. You know what I mean? So that's definitely one of them. And then the second is, I guess counterintuitive, but like, there needs to be something you're solving, right? There's a reason, and I'm not saying you need to come up with the next Tesla or autopilot, right? Yeah. But there's got to be something unique you're doing. But there's, again, on the opposite of that, there's a reason McDonald's, Chick-fil-A, Wendy's will be in the same complex, right? Yeah. There's unique, consumer preference things companies do that differ themselves from each. Why is there so many different podcasts, right? Yeah. So I think one, if you can come up with a problem solution statement, but then also come up with your secret sauce that you're able to do it. Yeah. Add in all of that. Just take that damn first step. I think a lot of young entrepreneurs can do what they do. I'm not saying you're going to be successful, but at least you can do it. And I think everyone gets obsessed with this term, like I'm an entrepreneur, right? Yeah. But I think just being able to like do what you're passionate about and just come out with it. I think that's the main key here.
Yeah, I think a big thing of what you're saying is it's very true. Even for me, when I first started, I was like, oh my God, there's a million things I have to do. How am I supposed to do all of this? And even now, the reason why, I have people like Aditya behind the camera is I know I can't do everything, right? Like I know objectively I can't do it all. And when you think it's just you versus everyone, then it's so easy for the world to just like fall and crash on you mentally. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I think most people who are at school, they think like, how am I supposed to do school and launch a business? But I think the whole thing is, again, not a business doesn't mean have a store, have all these products, have a big social media. No, it's one thing at a time. So even for you, it's like your first thing was, okay, I thought of something. Now let me just go reach out to some companies to see if I can create a single sample. Like, that's how companies start. It's not, you don't have your name, your LLC, all this stuff done right away. It's, okay, just slow. It's like baby steps. That's really what it is.
Yeah. And it's funny. So we've been in business for almost 5 years now, coming up in October. And we just got our trademark in 2021 or 2022. I forgot the exact year.
Yeah.
But again, like if you're at the front, like, oh, we need a trademark. You're going to get overwhelmed. But we didn't even start as an LLC. Then finally we got our LLC. Then a little bit later into it, we got our trademark done. Right. So there's just little things like if you just finish it as you go, and there's no like recipe. I'm not going to sell you this book. Here's how you got to do it. It's funny. I actually,
Austin's course.
What'd you
Austin's
say?
Entrepreneur course.
Yeah. But it's funny. So at Penn State, I actually graduated from Schreier, which is like the honors college there. Yeah. And as much as I want to flex, that's not what the goal is here. I'm just trying to say with Schreier, we had to write a thesis, right? And my thesis was, I forgot the exact title, and it's something I should know. Yeah. But it was almost like how to start a company from like ground zero.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So like, and I forgot how many pages it was, but it's a decent read. And you could just type in like Penn State thesis library or whatever and find that kind of thing. But it just talks about how to start a company, like everything from like LLCs into like coming up with a business plan into like a bunch of different things. But I just think like having that full kind of picture is good, and coming from somebody who's
actually just done it.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, you're only a year older than me, so I know even on this podcast and after, I'm going to ask you probably a ton of questions.
Absolutely, please.
So even...
And I don't know it all either, so if I don't know it, I'll try to find somebody older than us that does know it.
Not definitely. And I think, again... So now you've clearly learned a lot and it's done well. So now I'd love to hear about what you're talking about was your other company, your second company now. Yeah. Fit2Fulfill. What is that? What are we doing? I'd love to hear more about it.
Yeah. Fit2Fulfill, again, problem solution. Came up with some of the problems I saw in JERPA and came up with a solution for this, but then also in a different area. But let's just talk baseline, apparel sourcing company. A lot of them, what they do is economies of scale. They're going to buy 1,000 Champion Gildan shirts in a white color, and then, a barbershop's going to want 10 shirts. They're going to put their logo on it. Yeah. A casino's going to want 50, shirts. They're going to put their logo on it. But there's no customization other than the logos, and other than the colors, right? Yeah. Versus with us, it's, okay, you want your shirt here versus here. You want it to be fit versus oversized.
Like the little things.
Yeah, instead of Grove Street Pod here and the back tag saying Champion, it's going to be Grove Street Pod here. The back tags are going to say Grove Street Pod. Gotcha. Everything's private label. Everything's like its own individual kind of company, kind of clothing company, which is awesome. Yeah. So that's kind of like the problem solution. But then, just being able to provide that level of customization. And then what's even cooler is some people now are trying to start the JERPAs, the clothing companies, but have no idea where to start. Me being able to have, the supplier network that I've built over the years. Yeah. And keep in mind, this is not all rainbows and sunshines. I've ordered 200 cardigans. I ordered men's sizing. They came in women's sizing. Wow. Right. I've ordered hats where the embroidery was supposed to be clean. And then all of a sudden it packaged, they didn't wrap it properly. And all the hats came indented when it arrived. Wow. Right. So so many different bad things that happened that led to building the supplier source where literally almost anything you need, I've got a supplier for it. Yeah. And that other video you saw, you remember the bags, the Ziploc bags? Yep. Like that's like a high quality type bag, but literally from like bags to products to everything, I've got a supplier for it and being able to do that. So thus far, we've worked with F45 before they got the Mark Wahlberg partnership with that. We've worked with some casinos. We worked with barbershops. We worked with a ton of different companies, a ton of different clothing companies, which has been awesome. And I think the best part of the business, which I think is awesome, and like even what you're doing right now, it's great for me to be able to promote the businesses, get some content out of it.
I love hearing about it, man.
But then it's also so mutually beneficial, right? Whether it's value you got or also the content you can post. Same thing with Fit2Fulfill. I think the best part of it is it's mutually beneficial, right? Yeah. If somebody orders 70 tees, it's not wash my hands, they just ordered 70 tees. Yeah. If they sell out of 70 tees, you know what happens? They're coming back for another 70. We work with this barbershop. they've gotten so many reviews like, this shirt is awesome.
Wow.
Who is rocking a barbershop's merch?
Yeah, not me.
Exactly, right? So like seeing people give those kind of reviews, that's exactly what keeps me in the game.
Yeah.
But I guess the best part of the business model is, and I'll talk you through some of the margins. With JERPA, I order 200 hoodies and I sell 100. I'm sitting on 100. Yeah. 100 hoodies left. Yeah. And I call it the 3 Ds. Discount, donate, destroy. Yeah. Right? Yeah. I've got nothing. I can't liquidate it. Right? Yeah. As soon as I get
someone has to objectively buy it for it to be
exactly. And if it's the summer and it's a winter product, nobody's going to buy it. So I call it the 3 Ds. So for me, going to Fit2Fulfill, I wanted to get out of the inventory heavy business. Obviously, pros and cons from that, right? Yeah. Now, all of a sudden, if Grocery Pod orders 50 hats, right? Yep. Whether you give it away to 50 homeless people or you sell it in your gift shop for $100, I don't care. Yeah. But now instead, let's just say a hat for me is $10 and I could have sold it on my website for $30. I'm selling it for $12 or $13. It's a 20 or 30% margin business. Yeah. It's a very low margin, but it's a high volume game, right? We did a few conferences last year where they ordered 500, 600 tees. That's where the money is, right? Or if you can do a clothing company now all of a sudden, they're massively successful. They're ordering more. Yeah. That's where the big money is. But this, it's so clear the scalable kind of plan with it. It sounds and like it. Obviously the customization and everything that can come out of it is absolutely awesome. So I'm really excited for, and it's not to say I'm not excited for JERPA. I'm super excited for that, but I might have to pivot a few things there. But Fit2Fulfill, I'm super excited for, and kind of just the growth trajectory that I see with it.
Yeah, I mean, for one, it sounds like the perfect way to create clothing. Like I think now we talked about it too is, everything nowadays there's a big focus on personalization. Everything has to be personalized. Yeah. Even when me and you were both younger, I know we went on Nike.com.
I was just going to say Nike ID.
And we literally customized the Hyper Dunks and the Air Force Ones.
I used to, I would get it for Christmas maybe, but I used to go in there and just design
for
stuff.
2 hours.
Yeah. I'd be like, yo, these are some fresh ass Kobe's. You know what I mean?
And then we probably look back at it now.
As soon as you were just talking about customization, I was like, yo, Nike ID. That was the first time I thought of that.
And even you saying how you get to kind of create a company's perfect item, that's even how I look at it, right? It's like even let's say one day, Growth Street, we want to do more merch, things like that. I can say, I want the quality of, and I want the fit of an Essentials hoodie, but I want the feel of a JERPA hoodie. And
Did I tell you to say that? That is literally part of my
script,
but just my marketing.
Dude, I have 3 Essentials hoodies, bro, upstairs. I have 3 of them.
In short, what we do is if you wanted a Lululemon material with essential sizing, that's exactly what we do. Yeah. You've obviously seen it. Everything's got the tag on it. Yep. So it'll say 93% cotton, 7%, whatever it is. We can get that plus or minus 3 to 5%, and all of a sudden you've got a similar source material. Yeah. And then I should have brought it with me, but it's like my best friend. You ever get a suit tailored and they wrap your thigh with that measuring tape?
Measure, yep.
That is my best friend. Say you wanted that shirt recreated, I'll have you send me that. I will measure everything from each button. Okay, this is only 1.5 inches. Okay, that's what we're gonna do. Yeah. Every sizing dimension is done. But it's funny you said that because that's what I say. If you want in short, you want Lululemon material, you want and I'm not saying those 2 companies, but you want this material, but you want this sizing. Yeah. That's exactly what we do.
I mean, dude, it just makes sense. I feel like because even for me, I recently ordered shirts and the shirts are amazing, right? Yeah. But even again, it's those little details that could help you out so much. Finding exactly how to get exactly what you want, because you're spending all that money, right? For me, it was almost $1,000 for everything. Yeah. It's if you're gonna spend $1,000, you want it to be exactly how you did it. Yeah. So I mean, even I thought my products are already a 10 out of 10. I love the stuff that I have, but hearing how let's say a random company wants to go and do it, they can create exactly what they want using what you're doing. So I mean, again, you found a problem and you made the solution.
It's funny, even how I talked about where the name JERPA came from, jeans and Sherpa.
Yeah, tell me about that. Where does the name Fit2Fulfill come from?
And it's definitely something I haven't talked about. But there was two offerings I wanted to come out with. Obviously the apparel sourcing side of it, and then obviously the fulfillment side of it, right? Okay. So the fit comes from outfit, right? Yeah, and then the fulfill is the fulfillment. So it's Fit2Fulfill. And then I looked up these logos. I don't know if you've seen our logo, but it's an F2F. That'd be some good B-roll. Add that on top of it. But it's F2F. And depending on who you talk to, some people will see the 2 first, and some people will see 2 Fs. Okay. So I'm curious to see what you guys see first. Yeah. But that's where it came from. So I've really only talked about the apparel sourcing, but the other part is the fulfillment side of things.
Yeah, talk more about that. I think most people at home, when they hear the word fulfillment, they don't know what that means.
Yeah, so I mean anything. You order a shirt from Amazon, it's at your door in 2 days, or it's at your door in a day, right? That's fulfillment. That's supply chain. That's what I did my undergrad in at Penn State. Yeah. But the fulfillment side of things, in terms of, there's a few things. One, some people come out with companies and they have no idea where to start, right? How to print labels, how to get the packaging, how to take it to the post office. Simple things, but people don't do it. So one is the know-how, and two is just don't have the time.
Yeah.
So there's a company called We Up Sports. Femi Awadesu, professional soccer player.
Yeah.
You've probably seen it on my stories. But he has a company, dude. They are killing the soccer. Like in the soccer community, they are known.
Wow.
And they have these grip socks and these mini shin pads. I used to play soccer, but you have those like big ass shin pads. They have like these mini shin pads, which are, I guess, just way more versatile. I'm not a soccer player. I don't wear them, but I do all the fulfillment for them.
Yeah.
But they are killing it. TikTok shop and their website, they're killing it. But he's got soccer, he's got training, he's got all these other things. He doesn't have time to do it.
Yeah.
So he kind of outsourced the fulfillment to Fit2Fulfill.
Okay.
And so we do his fulfillment every day. We've got a storage unit with all his inventory. I do all the inventory tracking. Okay, there's 2 size smalls left, right? The website needs to have 1, so there's 1 in safety stock in case something gets lost, right? All those kind of things. I'm taking care of all the back end. And so that's really the fulfillment aspect. But we're not just accepting anyone
to fulfill anyone,
because I've also had companies in the past where you're doing their fulfillment and they're getting an order a day or order a week, right? And all of a sudden, like, you got to go to the storage unit to fulfill one thing. You know what I'm saying? It's not even almost worth your time. So now a lot of the times, a lot of what we're doing is like Femi and We Up Sports type of demand. But it's for me, it's really cool. And what's even cooler about it is like, okay, we're doing the fulfillment for We Up.
Yeah.
But now also I've become a part of We Up. He's been fortunate to see the value in what I bring, and he wanted me on board.
Sick. That's awesome.
And so now I own equity in We Up Sports as well.
Let's go.
Which is awesome because Femi is like super chill and just somebody I like to just kick it with, but then also to be able to work with him on a business partner level is dope. So it's pretty cool to see.
Yeah.
And now we just did some of his jerseys as well. So even on like the linking in Fit2Fulfill into what they're doing, it's just like all linked. And like this is what I'm talking about, like-minded people. You'll see like, you might see something I post like, oh, even I'm sure you saw some of the Nelk stuff, like that was straight up a connection, right? And if you fill yourself with like-minded people, you'll be surprised. Like I always say, I forgot what they say, but like you're like 3 to 5 calls away from like anybody.
Anyone.
You know what I'm saying? Like
it's so
you
true.
might know me, I might know this person, that person might know Trump. You know what I mean? Or Biden, whatever it is. But it's just like you are like 3 to 5 calls away from like a lot of people, especially if you can get pretty well connected, which is pretty dope.
So then talking about connections, right? I think so many people at home are probably listening to like, oh my God, this guy's got it. How does he know everyone? How does he how does he figure this out? I'm telling you, like, if I was, in college watching this video, I'm like, oh my God, like, how the heck did he do this just at graduating a couple years ago?
One step at a time.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So even, let's say you're at school, you just graduated, you're at home, and you want to have these connections. Because I agree with you. I think connections are the most important thing in life. Like, I'm not doing this if I don't know you, if I don't talk to someone who knew Herschel, who knows you.
Yeah.
And again, now I get to talk to you on this conversation, right?
Absolutely.
So how does someone start to build connections? Like so again, I think about you, right? You have all these suppliers, all these companies, for example, you talk to all these, like, for Fit2Fulfill works with so many different companies, right? Yep. Casinos, barbershops, now you have JERPA working with Penn State, working with Rutgers. You have to know people for this to happen. It can't just, no one just hits you up like, oh, you want to partner up? That's not how it works.
Yep.
So how do you actually build out that network, that community, those people, okay, for one, they know you, they trust you, and then now something can actually take place from that.
Yeah. I think, like, you can't go out there, like, looking to network, like, hey, can we be friends? Or, hey, can we connect? I think a lot of the times it's just vibing with somebody, but then also, like, showing that you can bring value, right? And it's not like a transactional type thing where I do this for you, you do this for me. Like, that's never what it is. But just being able, I think at the very first level is just being able to be friends and vibe with somebody.
As long as we can rock with each other, that's how you know it's good.
Yeah. And if you can do that, I think all of the rest leads to it. I just want to talk about so basically it was a mix of JERPA and Fit2Fulfill, but we made a sherpa-lined Happy Dad sample for the Nelk Boys.
Yeah, this is sick. It's a cool story.
And keep in mind, the Nelk Boys are somebody like I've watched from like forever.
Yeah, millions and millions of followers.
So Justin Mira, who Brad Kraut is a part of JERPA, he's now like killing the YouTube scene. He's with Nick Nayarcina and they're all in the Nelk Boys, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Justin Mira was his freshman roommate. I met him through college, stayed connected with him, all that stuff. Like back in college, we'd go to like the Basement Night Spot, which was like a club there. And, we'd have like a table or bottles, or my brother was DJing. Like Justin would hit me up like, like, yo, like, what are you doing? Whatever. Like, and we'd be able to connect like that. But there's never any like, you did this, I did this type of thing. We were just like friends.
We're just boys.
He ended up becoming Salim's trainer.
Wow.
Okay. And so I saw him at Penn State. We were just bowling one time, and I was like, yo, like, it would be sick if we could get a Happy Dad sample to Salim, right? So he moved out to Miami. He's like full on his trainer.
Like a Happy Dad JERPA sample.
Yeah, exactly. And so I was going out to Miami with my family already planned. Wow. Like it was a family trip.
Yeah.
And so I ended up going, I got the permission from Justin. Justin was like, yo, I think we can make this work. And I'm not like a clout chaser where I'm like, yo, let me meet Salim, like that type of thing. It was more or less like, yo, if you want me to send this to you and you want to hand deliver it, great. If not, I'm going to be in Miami. It would be dope to hand deliver it in person.
Yeah.
So got to go. Ended up making the samples. Samples turned out sick. I came out with a black and a light blue. There's literally only 2 of them in the world.
Yeah.
Black and light blue sherpa-lined sample. Told Justin, went there. Justin was like unbelievable. He's like, yo, come through. So I went to Salim's apartment, hand delivered it. And Salim at first was a little bit confused, right? Like he's like, yo, like how are you printing Happy Dad? Like, are you making money off this? And then I had to kind of explain like our storyline as to like, yo, this is what we do. A lot of the B2B stuff. Like I'm not saying Happy Dad's going to do any merch with us. It was more just like throw it out there. Like, right.
Yeah.
And if you vibe with it, you vibe with it. I don't know if you saw my story, but they were at dinner yesterday and he was wearing it. First of all, it's in Miami Heat. Sick. I don't know what he's doing wearing a sherpa-lined hoodie, but he was wearing it. And that's the type of thing, the $100, $200, whatever it costed to make the sample, it was all worth it just to be able to, you know, see that happen, see him rock with it. And I think for me, that is what has kept me in the game, right? I don't care. And I don't get hate comments. I'm not saying I'm one of those, but I'm saying even if people were hating on me behind me, just being able to see like people rock with it. Matt Rife, there was like some cancel culture. I don't know whatever happened, but Matt Rife still popping.
Big comedian. Yeah, really big comedian.
I sent him a sherpa-lined crew neck. And then like months later, I didn't even see it. Months later, somebody saw like a clip of him wearing it on a podcast. Wow. And then we clipped a bunch of the stuff, posted it. But that's the type of thing, like I am not, and even like Saquon wore some of our stuff.
Saquon Barkley, the running back for the Philadelphia Eagles.
Correct.
Now. Yeah.
I have never paid any individuals any amount of money to wear
your stuff.
Right? Like, so just our motto has always been, yo, let me send this to you. I'm confident you're gonna like it.
Yeah.
Same way I just brought you one of those.
Dude, and it is nice as hell.
Exactly. Once you get it, I feel like people a lot of the times like the quality, and that's what's kept me in the game. It's like, okay, I'm doing something right?
Yeah,
to be able to see Matt Rife, Salim, Saquon, all these different high-end people be able to wear it, like that's what's kept me in the game. But again, I'm like Mr. Yappuccino over here.
Dude,
we started with the networking thing in college, but again, vibe, be friends with somebody, vibe on that level, and then the network and all that comes out. But again, I'll never forget what Justin was able to do, and even if nothing comes out of it, just to be able to see that. So shout out Justin.
Shout out Justin. Yeah, seriously.
Exactly.
I mean, I think that's one of the coolest things that like you're getting to live your dream, and even when we're all young, right? Like the way you watch Nelk, we all probably have some people that we watch in some space, Instagram, YouTube, whatever it is, and the cool thing I think about living kind of like this, you know, this entrepreneur life is that it gives you the opportunity to work with such cool brands, cool people, and have these really cool experiences. So like, was that Nelk moment your favorite experience that you've had? Like, what is your favorite, you know, entrepreneurial moment for you so far?
That's a tough one and a really good question. I would say the Saquon one is definitely up there. Like just being a Penn State grad and being able to see that. And that was, again, like you gotta finagle your way in there. So that was funny. We actually went to Aaliyah Barkley is her name. It's Saquon's sister. Okay. Sent her some stuff. She ended up vibing it with it. And then Christmas was coming up and she was like, yeah, Saquon, everyone's going to be home. I think we had like these Christmas beanies. They were like the Santa hat. So white, like not brim, whatever that thing is called. White here with the red kind of body. So it was like a Santa hat, but it was a beanie. I sent out 15, 20 beanies to like their whole family. They were all rocking it in a picture. They, like literally on their like stairs, like a family picture. They were rocking it. That was like a super dope moment because while I was in college, Saquon is like that dude. He's still that dude. Now he's Philadelphia Eagles, obviously being from Philly. So that was definitely one of the moments. But then another memorable moment is just like your first sale, right? Like when you see people spend their hard-earned money on like something you're creating.
That was an idea. It was just an idea.
Yeah, something you're creating, like that means the world. And I'm not saying my time is valuable. I'm Elon Musk. But even like you're doing a podcast. The fact people have time to come on here shows you're doing it right. And I'll say it straight up. Like the reason I wanted to come on is because of how you're doing it, right? So many people, they start a podcast. They're doing it with Apple Audio and you hear every puh-puh, you know what I mean? And it's like, but I'm saying the way you're doing it, and I don't know, maybe you have 500 followers. I don't know. The followers are irrelevant, but just the way you're doing it from the jump, I think that's got to be something you take pride in. The lighting, the cameras, the audio, like that stuff, when you're, 10,000, you're big time. And I can already tell, like sometimes I blank during the podcast and Darsh just like question after question. Like you're good at what you do.
Appreciate it,
so keep doing it. But I think just being able to see people spend their hard-earned time, their hard-earned money on something you're building is definitely a favorite moment. But yeah, I wouldn't put it behind like any specific, but Nelka's cool just because I've watched them for a while and I respect the hell out of what they do. You know how many influencers have like, and then gone right down? Like the way they've went from here to happy dad to just generational wealth, like that's respectable and commendable.
Yeah, I mean, for one, like, I love how you mentioned the little moments, because even for me, dude, like, again, I stopped working for LinkedIn last July, and this has been like my main thing, you know, since I came home and figured out, okay, I don't want to work in corporate anymore. I want to chase this dream. Yeah. And I remember, like, for those who don't know, the journey of building this was a funny one, because I had to, you know, I've never built my own website. I built my own website. I never set up a podcast studio, built this podcast studio. I've never done so many different things, right? This is me literally figuring it out for the first time, all of it. And I remember about like I set up this coaching. I do career coaching. So I do free calls, and then I have like a paid for an hour, right? Yeah. So then I remember I was just driving to like get something from the grocery store, and I see a notification. It's like $50, someone paid it. And I remember I literally started crying in the car, bro. Yeah. It's like, that was my first moment where like, dude, like, this was an idea in my head, and someone I've never met just paid whatever, maybe that's 2 or 3, 4 hours of their hard work to like spend an hour with me, like to actually listen to what I had to say. I was like, holy shit. Like, that was such an insane moment. I didn't even know I would get emotional. I literally got emotional like that. And it's like, you don't even realize, again, like, I think you probably are the same way as me, because I think we get along so well, is it's so easy to put pressure on yourself. And it's that's like the hardest part about this, is like the stress, like that, at least for me. And then you actually, once you actually look back and reflect, it's like, wait, we did so much in this time. And I look back like, bro, for me a year ago to where I am now, it's like I'm a different person. I think so many things have been done. And
even you mentioned earlier, like, oh, people must think he's a god. Like, I think the important thing is to be like young and humble and learning, right? Yeah. Like, you're not giving those calls and saying you've been through every life experience, right? No but it's more based on your experiences, being able to provide value to others. And I hope to do the same on the podcast, because believe me, there is a ton. And that's another one. I should have brought it up on that other question. But like Instagram, all of these platforms are highlight reels, right? Like, you don't know how many people, athletes, influencers, like you just saw that whole thing come out about Sketch. Like, you don't know how many of these people on the front line are this highlight reel, but on the back end are dealing with mental health problems, are dealing with depression, are dealing with addiction, whatever that is. Right? And Mike Malak, I don't know.
I know who that is.
Logan Paul's
guy.
Yeah, he talked about it. Like, if you've made it through any addiction, like, you have something special. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I think life is so precious. Like, for you to even think about ending it or any of that stuff is crazy. But that's what I'm saying. Like, Instagram and this whole generation of people is like, it's a highlight reel. And that's what I'm saying. You got to just do you. Like, people flex. They're in Dubai. They're in Miami. Like, okay, they just loaded up a credit card for that, and they're spending it. They got to pay that off in 2 years. Because of the life they want to portray. So again, I think you just got to do you and base it off that. But again, bring value in what you've learned, but still be willing to learn and coachable, I think, is the main thing.
Yeah. So talk about doing you now. I think, again, we talked about it already a little bit before, but how do people who have kind of been I mean, the way I talk about me, and we talk about my brothers, my family, all my friends, everyone, is that, you know, high school, middle school, they don't really create this environment for you to be you. It's not saying it's a bad thing, but, you know, we're told to, you know, your middle school, guys, high school's going to be hard. Make sure you're ready for high school. High school, they tell you it's not going to work in college. You're ready for college. And you're in college, say, you know, take all these classes so you're ready for the real world. And you're never, you know, we all take a personal finance class sometime in high school, but we're never really taught, like, this is an actual option to, like, to do you, to actually don't think about, well, how much money it makes, or to think about, you know, the industry it's in. It's, do you actually love this? Do what you want to do. So what's your relationship with, like, doing you? How does someone do them? Like, how did you approach that? Because I'm sure at some point when you were working, you know, doing supply chain, when you were in school, was, you know, I'm going to get the supply chain job, do it. I mean, I'm guessing, but you probably didn't choose supply chain because you're like, I love supply chain. Like, that's not how people think. So how do you balance, like, doing what life is almost told you to do versus doing you?
I might drop too many bars on this.
Spit. Let's go.
But one, I think passion is at the forefront of all of it, right? Like, if you're not able to do what you're passionate about, like, it's always going to feel like work. You know what I mean? I guarantee you said earlier in the pod you worked from 5 to 12. That 7 hours did not feel like 7 hours because you were working on what you love, right?
At least it didn't feel like 7 hours in hell. Like, if you're doing that for, like, you know, for another thing that you don't really like, or you're studying or taking an exam, like, then it's like, oh my God, you're in the ringer. But for me, it's like, it doesn't feel that way. So I agree with you on that.
Yeah. So you definitely have to do what you're passionate about. I think that's the forefront of doing you. But then I think, and you said something that ticked this off, but like you just got to stay present, right? Like I feel like whatever it is, think about the summer. Oh, I got this wedding in 2 weeks. I can't wait to get lit for it. I'll be with all these people. And then all of a sudden now till that wedding, you're not even living here because you're just looking forward. Yeah. You're in middle school. Yo, I can't wait. No, you're in elementary school. Yo, I can't wait till I get a big locker in middle school. You're in middle school. Yo, I can't wait to, join with 3 other middle schools and make this high school.
Yep.
You're in high school. Man, I can't wait to be away from my family and have freedom.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden,
now you look back.
You're 24 and like all that just went away, right?
Yeah.
So staying present. But then also you talked about like the money and like that aspect.
Yeah.
Do not chase that. You know what I mean? Like you're not doing this podcast because you're thinking of the $10,000 sponsorship you're going to get while saying, "Hey, welcome to today's podcast. Today's sponsored by," right? You're not thinking of that.
Yeah.
So never think about. I think this generation is always thinking about money and grind, especially in their 20s. They're like grinding.
Yeah.
And I saw this video, and this video is bars.
Yeah,
and it basically talks about when you're young, you're chasing that wealth and like money and financial freedom, right? But if you talk to somebody who's 40 or 50 years old, wealth to them looks different, right? Wealth to them might be a phone call to their dad, a phone call to their mom that's no longer around.
Yep.
Right. And if you're still fortunate to have your parents around, like that is wealthy, right?
Yes.
And you're young.
You don't even realize it either.
Or even in your youth, you have this energy level that you're not going to have in your 30s. You're not going to have in your 40s. Right. So I think, again, it goes back to being present. It goes back to just being in the moment. Don't always chase something. Oh my God, I can't wait till I make my first 100,000. I can't wait till I'm a millionaire.
Yeah.
But be present, right? Be present in Growth Street Pod, being able to be here and enjoy where you're having smaller guests. Nobody's like
dude,
me.
you're not small,
so that
bro.
you can have,
no
the
way.
big athlete, whatever.
Yeah,
or like for me, being in the trenches of a business, I think that's because there's so many things like it's so sad, but like your parents aren't going to be around forever. And if you're so fortunate enough to have them.
Yeah.
So I think for me, it's just being present and being in my wealthy, right?
Yeah.
Because you're going to have money later in life, but then you might not have what you had in your 20s, your energy, whatever that is.
Yeah.
So again, do you be passionate, all that stuff, but stay present.
I always think of something. They say these are like the three kind of keys like to life, right? So what they always say is, when you're young, you don't have money, but you have time and you have energy.
Yeah.
When you're, let's say you're in your 30s, 40s, 50s, you have money and energy, but you don't have time.
Never have all
three. And then when you're 60, maybe 80, 90, however old you are, you have the money and the time, you don't have the energy. So what I always say is we are so lucky in this little 20-year-old, young 20s, mid-20s space where we actually kind of have all three in a way, right? We do have time. We do hopefully, are trying to make or have money, but we do have energy. And like I think this is like towards the end of the time where you still have a lot of that energy and that time.
Yep.
So I always want people to like really embrace, like, this is your time to take that risk, take that chance. Do you. That's literally what it's about because I'm sure you watch a bunch of Gary Vee stuff. I'm sure you do. But Gary Vee always talks about how like he didn't go crazy until he was 30, but he was his whole 20s was enjoying life and figuring it out. Yeah. And again, on social media, you see, you're going on Instagram, some of your boys are, in Dubai, some of them have like a crazy cool apartment, they have a Lamborghini, whatever it is. Mm-hmm. Everyone can be doing all these things on the outside, but it's okay. How can I get to where I want to be and I know I'm in my right place? Yeah. Like, that's the big thing. As long as, like, dude, again, all this shit, right? This podcast, the company I'm doing, dude, I'm still, like, I'm negative. Like, it's not making money yet, but I know that this is going on the right way towards making money. I just started a series on Instagram called, it's called The Road to $10,000 a month. Yeah. Right? I can work right now a job in New York. My whole job is getting people jobs. Like, that's my whole thing. So I know if you give me a month or two, I can probably get a job paying $100,000, $200,000 in New York, right? Mm-hmm. But I know that that's not what actually is going to mean something to me. I want to have something that is meaningful to myself, right? So that's why I'm doing what I'm doing now. So I think a big part of what, like, I always tell everyone is, like, I got to work at one of the best companies in the world. Like, literally voted number 2 company to work for LinkedIn. I got the dream that is sold to you in college or by, your parents, whatever. Work a big job, live in the 45th floor apartment in downtown Chicago right after college, work for a big tech company where they serve you lobster and steak for free at lunch every day. Mm-hmm. And I was doing that, and guess what? It still wasn't enough. Yeah. So I think a big thing about it is like staying present and focusing on what you actually want to do, because that is when your life can actually change and you can actually be like, wow, like like, this feels like when you're a kid and you're dreaming, like, I want to be an astronaut.
Yeah.
You want to find a way to dream out loud. And that's why I think that is a key
and
to succeeding.
Even
right
on
now.
those 3 pillars that you talked about, like for me, and people might disagree with me, but like, I think even Gary Vee is one of those that like, he says in all his 20s, he never went out. And then by his 30s, he made it. Yeah. But I kind of disagree with that in terms of like, one, okay, let's just say you did that. And then at 29, you got cancer. Yeah. Whatever it is, right?
You didn't live life.
Tomorrow is literally never guaranteed. And I think for me, like, I've always been like the work hard, play hard type of type. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying I worked hard where I can play hard, but I just think, again, it goes back to being present. Like, if you're able to just create memories, because otherwise you're going to be in your 30s. Sure, you're a millionaire, but your boys are all married with families. They don't have time to go out with you. Like, whatever it is. And I'm not saying going out is what you value, right? Some people are homebodies. They don't like that. But for me, I like going out. I like being social. I like creating memories, things like that. So I try and do that as well in the kind of schedule of working hard and grinding and all that kind of stuff.
I think it's too easy now, too. I mean, I'm sure you see a bunch of videos online where it's like, if you don't have $200,000 a year at 22, then you're not doing it right. Or if you're not a millionaire by 25, that's so unrealistic. Yeah. I think, like, to me, let's say I make $100,000 this year, right? But I don't see any of my friends or any of my family. Then that's not a good year. Yeah. To me, a good year is everything that I actually value. I think I tell this to everyone. Like, you should write down the 5 most valuable things to you, right? Mm-hmm. So for me, I would say that's my friends, that's my family, that's sports. I love sports. Mm-hmm. And that's chasing my dream. And then I would say another one is probably seeing the world, right? Mm-hmm. Those are the 5 things that matter to you most. Then you have to make sure a way to where your time is spent where you're focusing on those 5 things. There's probably a million other things that you can focus on, whether it's, hiking or sports betting or getting a motorcycle license. I'm sure we have all these other things that we all want to do, right? But if you can focus on the 5 things that you value most in life and make progress towards those things, then you can still get to where you want to be but not missing life. Yeah. I think that's a big thing. Like, a lot of college kids, I think it's so easy, man, to like live life and be like, yo, I'm not doing enough. And I think all of us can get caught up in that. I am one of those people where it's like, shit, bro. Like,
which I think a little bit of the mentality is good, like the proud but never satisfied mentality. Yeah. But I think you do have to sometimes just sit back and look at what you've created. Yeah, right? I always talk about like this, right? In terms of the setup you guys have from day one. Like, sometimes you just got to sit back and look at that, because even if you get caught up in it, our YouTube podcast, we just spent 2 hours. We spent 10 hours editing at 300 views. Yeah. Right? Like, literally. But this is the fun part, right? Because then when you're at 10K views, 20K, whatever it is, and I'm not saying that equals success, but I'm just saying this is the fun part that you're going to look back on. And again, everything's going back to be present.
Yeah, seriously.
And otherwise, this time will just pass.
And that's why I'm so, again, you even saying like you love the setup and everything, that means a lot to me, because even just the fact that I did an episode with Herschel, and then I've never met, so yes, no, I've never met Austin a day in my life. We spoke on the phone for the first time like this past week. And that's
still chopped it up.
Yeah, we're still chopping it up. now we're boys, guys. Now we're boys. Yeah. But the whole idea is like that if you do what you like, so many random things can happen. And one thing I always say to everyone too is, the best moments in life are never planned. Mm-hmm. Never. Like, the best moments in life are never the ones that you strategize for and are planned. The best moments in life to me are the ones that you don't expect. Yeah. Like, for example, it's like even this episode right now. I didn't know who you were a couple months ago, and now this is my highlight of my week. We get to chop it up, have a great conversation, and I got a sick new JERPA jacket that I'm gonna probably be rocking all fall, all winter. But that's what I'm saying. So I think it's so easy to where it's like, if people think, if the plan's not working, then I'm failing. Mm-hmm. That's not true. If you do, again, 1% better every time, or are working towards your goal on that journey, as long as your head is up and you're not too head down, cool things will start happening.
You've heard multiple different versions of it, but it's like wins and learnings. You know what I mean? No losses. Like, I think if you can just turn any of the defeats into something you can learn from, I think it's always a win. Like, even some of the mistakes we've made in terms of like sizing or things that just, I think the biggest thing is accountability, right? Yeah. When things go wrong, everyone wants to point a finger. Yeah. Oh, that was the supplier, that was this. But if you just, and I think that's what like sports kind of taught me, but like just accepting things head on, right? Like when the sizing, so what had happened with the sizing thing.
Yeah, talk about this whole thing that went down. I'm curious.
What had happened with the sizing thing is we have a supplier, right? And you always have this middleman that, there's always a language barrier, right? Whether it's India, whether it's Pakistan, whether it's China, there's always this language barrier, right? And most of the production floor are going to be like from the country. Versus like the middleman or middlewoman is going to be somebody who speaks English, is able to. We had already done an order with this supplier, And I had thought it was the same middleman, right? Like we're already, working together. Then I go to make the second order months later while that middleman changes, right? So now the same level of detail I thought I was there, I just didn't even think we want to run another order back of it. And she had not done it properly because, the accountability of it is I could have went and communicated every single detail. And so now when we do orders, like every little detail has to be communicated, right? So that's what I'm talking about. It's a loss, right? But if you learn from it, you can turn it into a win, and it's created me to be a better businessman, better, offering that we can provide just based off of that. Like if that never happened, who knows what could have came, the issue might have happened on a much bigger deal, or instead of just on like the JERPA deal, it could have happened to another client. Now all of a sudden I've got to do something with that. But again, accountability is a huge thing. Like we just had a small defect on an embroidery literally 3 weeks ago. And it's not something I want to send to them and they recognize it and say, hey, what's this? It's something I inspected myself, refunded them all the defected products. So like you're going to run into issues, right? But just being able to head on straight, deal with it, take accountability for it, I think is the biggest thing. And like they appreciated the hell out of it, right? It's the type of thing like they might not have even noticed, right? It was that small, but for me, it's a testament of my work. It's something I take pride in, so I never want to deliver that kind of quality.
Yeah, and I think again, it's like one of those little things where I'm sure you go to a barber, get your fresh fade, but when you get up out of the chair, if he notices the little pieces off, you want the barber that says, hey, get back in the chair, I missed a little. You probably would never notice if it's back here, right? You're never going to notice
Funny story. You know they ain't never hold that mirror up and you say, can you fix something? It looks good. It don't matter. You can have a bowl cut.
No, bro. You go back. If you're cool enough with your barber, like, dude, me and Yasha, we wanted the same barber now for like 9 years.
Yeah.
I'll be like, yo, this part, and he's like, oh, yeah, I got you.
I just sit down. If it don't
look
good,
bro. You got to speak up.
I'll be back in a week. I'll be back in a week, but I'm not telling him in that chair. No way, Jose.
No, that's funny. He's going to give you a ball strike down the middle. But no, I mean, I want to hear more about like some of the struggles now, man. I mean, for one, hearing about how you had that moment, I think it's so glorified, business owners. Wow, all this stuff's working. Get to work with Saquon Barkley, Nelk, Salim. But what's like the real behind it though? Because I'm sure, there were some tough days, long nights. I'd love to hear about what the actual reality is like working a job and then running 2 companies. How do you do that? And what's like been the challenging part on that side?
Yeah, I would say like when people say they put their blood, sweat, and tears into something, like I feel like a lot of them are telling the truth. Like when I go to the fulfillment place, I'm moving boxes, I'm fulfilling things, I'm sweating.
Yeah.
I've definitely cried about the businesses in terms of whether it's losing money, whether it's, people my age are doing this while I have to dump all my money into this, like, and you feel kind of behind. Again, it goes back to comparing yourself to others and things like that. But definitely like blood, sweat, and tears is going to go into the company. And you got like, it will not be an 8-hour thing, right? I'm not saying you're going to work 100-hour weeks, and like hours is not like it is. Somebody might work 20 hours and make more money than you. It's not hours equates to success, but I just mean you got to be able to do the nitty gritty, like right from the jump, and like the behind the scenes is not pretty. You're going to run into issues. You're going to run into, and that's what's cool about the supply chain aspect of it, especially in an inventory heavy business, is like they call it safety stock, right? I have 100 hoodies. I'm only uploading like 85 to the website because we've talk about issues. You want to hear about struggles.
Yeah, I'd love to.
We've shipped products. Product gets there, package is opened or damaged. We've shipped products. Tracking says scanned, but it's in Chicago and it should have been in Philadelphia and it's been in Chicago for 2 weeks. Where is this thing?
Yeah.
And companies like USPS, you're putting a ticket in. You ain't hearing for like months, right? It's like, all right, let me just send another one. It'll be faster to do that. So there's a ton of like supply chain issues you're going to run into. I'd say our like biggest milestone issue we ran into as every business was COVID.
Yeah.
I remember I was in Mexico. We had our cardigans in, and I am ready. I had the inventory counted before I went on vacation with my family. All I've got to do is launch this thing on Shopify. Okay. It was like that week you seen TikToks, girls are reacting like their classes went out and they were all happy about that, but they were like, what is this, right? Like, what is this COVID thing? How long is it going to last? Talk about consumer demand. Everybody's focus went from, okay, now I've got this disposable income to let me go buy 8 rolls of toilet paper because, we don't know what this COVID
of
thing
Walmart,
is.
they were barren, bro.
Exactly. So, like, that was the biggest thing we went to in terms of, like, our company's demand was, like, going up and up and up and up. And like, he was probably a little bit younger, so you might not know at Penn State. But, like, my years, Penn State, like, it was booming. We had an ambassador program. It was, like, almost a cool thing to do. Cool thing. We had ambassadors joining. We had literally launch parties. But that was like our demand was going like this, and then boom, COVID hits. And we had this whole launch. I'm ready to launch at 100, 150, whatever the number was of cardigans. And now all of a sudden, not a single sale came in because of COVID, right? And now you gotta look out for storage costs. You gotta look out for, okay, when is this COVID thing gonna end? Years later, people are still catching COVID, but it's like, and there's no book I can write that's gonna be like X, Y, Z is the problems you're gonna run into. Yeah. You're never, and I'm sure maybe you already have. We're 30 minutes into a podcast. Shit, we forgot to click record. I like to turn shit.
So let's make sure we got everything. We good. Green light. All right.
Good. Like that's what I'm saying. These are just issues, but let's just say that does happen. Now every single podcast you're gonna have, you're gonna go make sure it's recorded.
Dude, literally happened. One time we were recording, we were talking for 50 minutes, and we find out at the 15-minute mark, all the SD cards were full. Yeah. So what happens? You learn about it. You had to restart. Even for me, one time my hair was all crazy. Yeah. And I watched it back editing, and I was like, all right, that's never gonna happen again. It's like a lot of little things. Even when I do coaching, it's realizing that once I'm actually on my internship meeting, I have my headphones on as my mic, and I have my mic. But usually the mic catches my audio, and nothing I'm saying is getting me across because of the wrong mic. It's all these little things you notice, but that's how you solve. That's how you make it better every time.
But I'm saying, like, there's no book you can read. Sure, there's like supply chain things that are every inventory or e-commerce business is running into. But there's just stuff you gotta dive in the fire for you to. And I'm a huge believer, and I think people rise to the occasion. Yes. Right. Like sometimes you just gotta throw yourself. And Aditya, I don't know how old you are, but like just being able to be around a little bit older people who finished college who are doing this. How much value it's going to bring for him, right? Like just being able to throw yourself in the fire. Like if I went and worked for Mark Cuban for a week, maybe in the first week I'm like, dude, do you ever sleep? But then in the second week, I'm like still a little tired. But then in the third week, I'm like, I'm here with the Cuban. You want to go work out? Let's go work out, right? I think sometimes if you just throw yourself in the fire, you're going to rise to the occasion.
I agree, and I love how you mentioned that because I think inherently we're all sink or swimmers. You know what I mean? But like, I think everyone inherently, though, it's like that fight or flight, that will to survive will always come through. If this, like, for example, my grandpa, right, he has like a cane, slow walker. We have like a little lift for him to go from downstairs to upstairs. Mm-hmm. If there's, like, I'm sure you saw it, 2 houses over, massive fire, like the whole house burned down. But if we had a fire in this house, you know his ass is running down those steps and making it outside. Right? So when it comes to even like launching a business, right, it's like, all right, something happened. How are we going to fix this? Like that's inherently how it comes down to. And yeah, but I think a lot of it, when it comes down to what we're saying is, if you're a problem solver, a lot of things are going to work out. Like, because even in life, like that's how you make a good life, right? It's like, okay, shit, I want my kids to go. I want to be able to pay for my kids' college. Or how much money do I need? Let me reverse engineer that. Yeah. You know, I want my wife to make sure she can drive a car. She's taking the bus. All right, how much money do I need? Let's make so I can do that, right? It's like this house. There's freaking pipes burst. I gotta fix this damn pipe if I don't want to have a flooded house. I don't have a pool in the basement. So life's all about that stuff. And even for me, man, like one day I was having this whole breakdown. I was like, yo, this company is not working. What's the issue? Why is it failing? And I saw, you know how Alex Hormozi, the book's right here about $100 million leads. He said the best CEOs or the best, business leaders in life, what they can do is solve problems. Yeah. If you can solve your own problem and solve a problem every day, you're gonna go through so much shit, but you're gonna become this person where problems are actually gonna help you get better instead of being things that weigh you down, hold you back. So I wrote down on this whiteboard every problem I had I was like nitpicking at every little thing. But I had 47 things written in red on that whiteboard. Yeah. I was like, wow, okay. Now I know what I gotta solve for. The next 2 weeks I had was dedicated to solving as many of those problems where there was a plan, an actionable item. And what happened for those 2 weeks, bro, I felt so good. I was like, yo, I'm about to take over the world now. I'm back on the saddle. I'm about to do this shit. Mm-hmm. So I think everyone watching at home, right, they're in college, like, if you can just figure out what your problems are in life, whether it's, okay, my grades aren't good enough, my resume is shit, whatever you're doing, if you can learn how to solve your problems, that is where everything changes, in my opinion.
Yeah. And the problem solver thing you talked about, I think if you can create that mindset, it's not just entrepreneurship, but it's also life, relationships, whatever it is, right? Yeah. Last week, we were flying from Nashville to Philadelphia. Our Spirit flight got canceled. Being able to see, okay, now we have to fly into Chicago, 1 hour layover, so then we can get to Philadelphia at 12 o'clock. Just being able to solve problems. I always related it back to my sports career again, and which is why, God willingly, if I am able to have healthy kids and all that good stuff, the kids are playing sports. They must. Sure. Yeah, there's so many learnings. I agree with you. But one of my things, it was my senior year coach, Derek Wright. He's Jay Wright's brother.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Jay Wright's whole thing at Villanova was this mantra of attitude, right? And attitude means you can't control what you can't control, right?
Yeah.
In a game, a ref doesn't call it, right? Attitude, next play, right?
Yep.
You see these players go like this, right? Ref, that's a foul. Instead, Villanova players are hustling back. So we got that attitude mindset from my senior year, and that has stayed with me in everything I've done, right? In terms of like, in life, things are going to be thrown at you, and you might not know what's going to happen, or there's things you just can't control. I can sit there and complain. There's a girl at the line saying, so all these people can reschedule their flights, but I can't. And she's complaining to a girl who has no power to change that. And meanwhile, she's ruined her whole day over this. And again, just attitude, next play, being able to bring that mindset. And you've definitely heard this.
Yeah.
But it's that thing like, I forgot the exact number, but if somebody gave you $87,000 and somebody took $10 away from it, would you be mad?
Yeah.
And the answer is always no.
Always no, yeah.
No, yeah.
You would just take your whole day, yeah.
Exactly.
Say the analogy, you got it.
Yeah. So 87,000 seconds in a day. If somebody ruins 10 seconds, don't ruin your day over it, right? Like I feel like so many people let these little things take over their day, ruin their mood, ruin their weeks, and all of a sudden it's like next play, right? Like keep that
Why would
attitude.
you? If it's like $10, if let's say you get $87,000, $10 got burned, you're gonna burn the rest of it?
No.
Why would you burn the rest of that money?
Exactly.
It's $87,000. That's 8,700 seconds you have to have a good time. But yeah, man, I agree. So I think, one thing that we always do is we do something called the Growth Street Minute, where we go more into learning, who Austin is on the fun side, on like who actually is as a person, but also like what really matters to him. So we're just gonna ask you a couple questions. It's gonna be fun.
Yeah.
I've asked my audience to ask you a couple things, and we're just gonna ask you a couple questions. So
let's do it.
We're gonna get into it. But first thing, I know you're a big sports guy. So what is your favorite sport to play, not counting basketball?
Not
that was
counting
too
basketball?
easy. Basketball is an easy one.
Yeah. That is. I want to get into pickleball, but I'd probably say
Pickleball's lit, bro.
I'd probably say tennis. Fun fact, I was double. I was like last, but like third doubles for varsity tennis my senior year of high school.
There you go.
It was like, you light coursework, you just do a sport. But I did tennis. But then I'm nasty at ping pong. So, but I want to get into any of the paddle sports or racket sports I like. So probably tennis if it's not basketball, obviously.
When I was at my whole family's like a tennis family, but me and my brother never picked it up. When I was at LinkedIn, they had a game room and they had a ping pong table. I never played before. And I went from being the worst player ever, and I was in there for probably maybe an hour after work every day.
You can rip some
and I got nice, bro. I got nice. Then pickleball started coming out this summer.
I hold it like Asian style.
Oh,
like,
you're one of those? Oh, so you're actually like that. But yeah, man. Point is, I love pickleball, man. Sport of the summer. I kept saying pickleball, pick up the paddle, guys. It's fun.
Yeah.
But second thing is favorite sports team.
I mean, I might have to stay home to the Sixers, but they have let me down so many times. So I mean, we might have to go the Eagles just because they brought home the Super Bowl.
Okay.
Yeah.
So which one are you rocking with more?
We'll go with the Eagles.
Eagles. I'm a diehard Cowboys fan.
All right, we can end the podcast.
I have my. Well, I think groceries all blue and white, man. No, I'm kidding. That's why I have 7 Cowboys jerseys in another room right there.
I just knock the blue and white book over.
Blue and white there. Look at the walls, blue and white. Hey, subliminal. I'm probably wearing some blue and white right now, but yeah, diehard Cowboys fan. So going from there, what is your now that you've done sports teams, what is your favorite like kind of person you've worked with? Like favorite person you like, whether it's Saquon, favorite person you've interacted with when it comes to work.
Are you talking more on like a business partner work?
Yeah, favorite business partner you've had so far.
I mean, Brad is definitely one of them in terms of what he did for JERPA earlier on. In terms of he was able to literally grow the business from like it went through all the fraternities, all that just because of him. Yeah. He sold like I forgot the number, 24 or some jeans in like 48 hours. Like his hustle and drive was great, and that's what brought him onto the company. I didn't mean like he was. It's just a matter of he's diverted into he's doing YouTube and a bunch of other stuff that he's busy with, which I'm super happy for him. So he's definitely one of them, but then definitely currently Femi as well. Because Fit2Fulfill I am doing by myself. Yeah. But Femi's another one in terms of like business partner. Nico is definitely another one. But he was not on like a business partner level, just in terms of he helped crew. And me and Nico, like again, when you talk about that like vibing level, like we're like the same person. We'd go out, we'd have a good time. But Femi as well. He's just so like cool and collected, and he's not like all up front like, oh, did you ship the products out today? It's just like very like I'm an entrepreneur within like the whole big company. So it's been dope to work with Femi, and what he's creating with We Up like is awesome. Like it's cool to see what they're building. So definitely him. And
then kind of going off of that, who's like the person in your life where you look up to them, or who's like your role model or inspiration for you to be successful?
I mean, definitely like my family as a whole. But definitely my parents. I'll do a two-sided answer.
Yeah.
Definitely my parents, because you talk about being an immigrant from a different country, coming here, starting from scratch, being able to build what they've built. My dad's in real estate. My mom's a corporate director of nursing, overseeing 14 buildings. To do that from the jump.
Our moms do like the same thing, I think, which is funny.
Really?
Yeah.
So do that from the jump, like super respectful. My dad always says this one quote: "If you're going to be a janitor, own the janitorship." Right? Like whatever you do, give it 110%. So that super big role model in terms of what my parents have done and just the blessings they've blessed me with. I would have nothing literally without them.
Yeah.
Second, obviously my big brother, Shane. He's killing the game now. He's the DJ. He's working full time.
Yeah.
But everything I have done, and whether you say, "Oh, this guy looks like he carries himself so well, he's doing all these," is because I had an older brother to lead the way, make the mistakes, so that you probably heard it in my best man speech.
Yeah,
but
it was a good speech.
Thank you. But literally every mistake he's done, I've been able to, like, even now, he bought a house with his wife, and he was like, "Yo, I wish I bought a house a few years ago." Yeah. And that like stuck with me. I'm like, "Yo, I want to buy a house before I'm 26." So like, literally just being able to learn from him, and then like the relationship we have, and it seems like you guys have a very similar relationship.
My God,
exactly. Like I don't get siblings that just aren't close.
Yeah,
like,
I know, dude. That's what we always talk about.
Best friends. Like
about.
Everything we talk about goes to each other, and it's been awesome. And like even his wife, Jinsey, my sister-in-law, like we have that same kind of relationship, which is great. So just to be able to bond like that and have a great family relationship, again, not just another blessing. Yeah,
definitely. I think again we say like you don't know how valuable something is until you kind of don't have it. So the fact that like you have that, you're aware that that's a big reason. That's why I always ask people that, because I think you always assume it could be family, but some people have, really great mentors. Some people have, really great relationships with their parents, with their siblings. But hearing that's funny because me and my brother are really best friends. So hearing how you're on the same way, but you're on his side of it as a younger sibling is funny.
Well, I would say it's disrespectful for me to say anybody but my parents and my brother. But if you want to hear, like we did the, business partner we did look up to, if you want to hear like non-family, I would probably say there's a guy, Jose Zuniga. If you know,
oh my God, Teaching Men's Fashion. Yeah.
So,
oh my God, when I was in high school, I used to eat his videos up, dude.
Yeah, from the jump, from a business perspective, he's been a huge. I don't know him personally, but just being able to watch what he's created has been dope. Like Manscaped, he's helping out with.
Yeah, dude, he's still killing the game 10 years later. I don't know how he's doing it.
He's doing some like not weird content, but some like content that's not like his old content. So I don't know. I'm sure he's a mastermind. I'm sure he's got some plan with it. But he was definitely somebody I looked up to in terms of everything he was creating. He had that company. So there's Essentials, like Fear of God, and then there's ESNTLS, which was his company.
Yes, I saw that.
And so like even you talk about that sherpa-lined hoodie, was seeing some of the hoodies that he did. So like he was definitely another big one that I like looked up to.
Yeah, Jose. It's so funny you mentioned that. I feel like I don't know. Maybe if people watching home remember know that name. You said Jose Zuniga, and I was like, wow, that went right to my mind.
Yeah.
And then lastly, I'm curious about. We always ask is what is the best piece of advice that you've ever received and that you want to kind of share to the world?
I think I've been talking about it all day.
You can't say "do you?" No, I'm not letting it happen. You have to say something else.
Then I would say the be present, the be present one. In terms of like, I think you got to like if you're always looking forward to something and never living in the present, it's all gonna pass, and before you know it, you're gonna be on your deathbed thinking, how did this go by so fast? So that's definitely one. And then two, I always say that if you're gonna own the janitor, own the janitorship. Not own. If you're going to be the janitor, own the janitorship, right? Like, whatever you do, give it 110%.
Yeah.
Because, again, like, whether you're a hedge fund manager or you're a janitor, right? Like, there's no, this person is better than this. Yeah. And again, I think if you're going to be a CEO, you're going to be a founder, you're going to be a leader of any sort, you got to treat everyone with respect and humility.
Agreed.
Right? There's nobody, it doesn't matter if it's an intern, it doesn't matter if it's a CEO, there's nobody that's above
one another. No one's bigger or small. I agree.
I think just to be able to treat one another with respect, but do everything with 110%, you can be successful at anything you do.
Nah, I mean, I love that. I think, again, the reason why I love this part of the podcast is because it allows, I think, the viewer and myself to like learn a bit more about you. And I never know. Your Eagles fan is what it is, but I got to learn that you're close to your brother and like that you have that bond too. And I think again, a lot of people can really listen more to somebody or connect with them more if they find something in common with them.
Yeah.
So I mean, for me, the whole thing is like, at the end of the day, whenever you hit me up, the first thing I think of is, oh, this guy's really cool. He's a CEO, founder of his own company. But before that, we're people, bro. Like, we're just people chopping it up. You have your own living experience, and so do I.
And back to that connection thing, you said find a connection. Like, when you talk about networking, it makes it so much easier if you can find a connection. Yep. Whatever that is. We both like fashion. We both like going out. But whatever it is, we both like to play basketball. If you can find some connection, you're going to vibe with that person, be friends with them. You're going to also connect on that. And then all of a sudden, whatever you need in life, that person's there for you.
It's the whole thing of, you walk past someone once, you kind of look at them. You walk past them the second time, you give them the head nod. Third time, it's good. Fourth time, you dap them up. Fifth time, now you're playing Xbox or going out or whatever it is. So that's the whole thing, man. Again, one thing I'm excited to going back to that is I always want to make this valuable for the viewers at home, right? Because I think the big thing is all right, I want them to understand what you've really learned and how they can apply it to themselves. So what are a few things that you've experienced that's more tangible steps, whether it's starting a business, navigating college, finding connections? What are some of the really big things that if you could drill this back into your own life, let's say you can rewind the clock, turn it back. You're now 18 years old, you're a freshman at Penn State, or maybe you're still graduating high school, wherever you are. What would you do differently? Or if you had a younger brother, what would you tell him? You got to do this. Like, these are things that I really want you to do to kind of actionable steps, tangible things that they can do.
Find out what you're passionate about.
Okay. And
then see what you can do with that passion, whatever it is. And again, not every, and I don't want to glorify entrepreneurial because going back to nobody's above one another. Everyone has a different path, right? Like somebody might be a independent contractor, somebody might be an employee, somebody might be an entrepreneur, right? Like those are three different paths, but they can all be successful in whatever it is. So again, if I had a younger brother and I'm telling him what to do, I'd one say find what you're passionate about and then be able to work in that. And then two, you're going to hate it, but do you. You know what I mean? Like so many people care what their friends think, and it's not like you would think it's a high school thing when they were younger. Oh, they care about what their friends because they got to see all their friends tomorrow. Even when they're in college, people still care. Even when they're in their 30s, even when they're a parent, right, and they're 40, 50. Oh, we just posted this Facebook photo at this restaurant. People must think we do really well for ourselves, right? There's still this what do others think about it, right? And so I think if you can just find that internal happiness and that internal peace, I think you can do so passion and just doing you.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned
that.
I've
said that 8 times.
No.
If you don't know the takeaway.
Yeah, guys, that clearly is takeaway. Now, whenever I hear do you, I'm going to think of you. But no, it's funny that you say that because even the last part is what people think. I think there's two things I want to say, Fab. One thing, it's funny because I just had braids in my hair, right? As I'm sure you saw on Instagram. And everyone all my friends, yo, shit it looks fine, it looks good. And then my parents and family all come over for 4th of July, and they're like, what's on your head? You got to take it out. But
it was the same when I had the man bun. People would be like, this, and family got no remorse. I'm like, okay, I'll cut it next week.
I have the wedding coming up on Saturday, and my cousin jokingly, she was like, so when are you going to take that out of your hair? It's her wedding. I was like, I'll take it out, don't worry. But it's a funny thing. And the second thing, too, I want to talk about is timelines. And I think it's a really big thing where, everyone always says you have to be on the right time. There's a whole stigma, again, by being a 5th-year senior or transferring schools or, not having a job right out of college. Mm-hmm. I think the big thing that I'm realizing, and I think I want to tell everyone, is that there's no right timeline. The more you compare yourself to everyone else, the more you're going to think that you're not doing enough. And there's always someone doing better than you, right? The same way that maybe I'm compared to my cousin or you're compared to someone that you know. So we're being the example that someone's comparing someone else to. So it's easy to think about, oh my God, I got to be like this other person, to be on their time. But you are also someone that I'm sure someone else yo, you got to be like Nurse, you got to be like Austin. Right? So I think that's one thing I want to talk about with you too is what is your experience with you and timeline? Because I'm sure, again, now you got your real estate license. And now you're gonna try to be an MC too. So all the things that you're doing, I'm sure it wasn't like you followed the traditional timeline, right? So what are your thoughts on some of those things?
Yeah, I mean, I think it goes back to the Instagram being the highlight reel and all this kind of thing. I think you got to be at your own pace. You know what I'm saying? And so many times, so many people put unnecessary pressure on themselves. Oh, I need to do this by 25. And then what happens if they don't do it by 25? They feel like they've failed themselves and they lose confidence and all these kind of things. So I think you just got to be at your own time because everybody has got something you don't know about, right? LeBron is probably dealing with something that he thinks is the worst problem. It's LeBron James. And we're like, you know what we would do to be LeBron James? Right? So it's I think you just got to be at your own time because somebody might be 21 and flaunting this business in this Lambo, but I don't know, maybe their parent passed away and left millions for them. And that's the part that's never talked about. Right. And so it's like you are only seeing the small bit, but not without the big picture. So for you to compare yourself, especially on social media, without hearing somebody's true story and things like that, is an absolute crazy thing to me. So I think you really just got to operate at your own timeline and your own pace. Because I think especially if you're building something like an empire or you're building like a company or whatever, you might be here while all these people are going like this. But the second you get to that point, you know what I mean? Like you can just take off from there. So again, I think you got to operate at your own timeline and you got to trust your vision, right? Like for me, not in a cocky way, but in a confident way. I know what I'm building with Fit2Fulfill and JERPA, but then I also see my vision, right?
What's the vision? I want to hear what the vision is.
In terms of like, you don't know, in terms of procrastination, I took that real estate course in 2021. I just got my license now. It's not that I took all these exams and failed. I took 3 years to find the time to study and I just put it off. Finally this year, I set out to get it and I got it done.
Congrats, man.
Yeah, so I appreciate that. But again, like just being able to, whether it's work, corporate, whatever it is, being able to have that flexible job while I'm working on my companies is a blessing. Eventually, hopefully being able to get into real estate, is the goal. But then being able to do real estate and the companies, MC on the weekends, just being able to see this like, these are like, and it's not like these are like work. Oh my God, I'm going to be working nonstop. Like MCing is fun. Like I can see you get like just being able to bring the energy. And right now I'm in the shadowing period where I go and see all these talented MCs and see what their style is and things like that. But just being able to like demand a room, you know what I mean, is like a cool ass feeling. You know what I mean? Like you get to a wedding and you're like, we're here to celebrate the love. And like you just feel that energy go from here
and like
to
you're
here.
responsible for that atmosphere.
Exactly. So like just to be able to like work on things that I enjoy working and truly am at like peace with working at is awesome. So.
No, I mean that sounds awesome, and it inspires me because I'm the same way as you. I think I told this to everyone. I think everyone is wired differently. Again, everyone's different, but I cannot work on something or do something if I don't care about it. I'm just wired that way. Like some people are really good at I have this class. I'll do what it takes to get an A. I wish sometimes I could be that person, but I am not that guy.
And sometimes people are best with their back against the wall. Like the fact that you went all in with this, you will make it work out. Whatever you have to do.
There's no.
And even if it's the grocery store that's only going to pay you $200, but you're going to shout them out, $200 ain't going to pay for nothing. Ain't going to pay for your dinner tomorrow. But you might take it because your back's against the wall. You've got to make this thing work 100%. Out. Right? So I think like what you're doing, I got a lot of respect for more than you got respect for me, man.
Dude, and that's like what I tell everyone. Like some people always ask like, why should I trust you with like my money or my time? What I say is like, you could pay some big ass company or some tutoring agency to help you out, and they'll help you out. But for me, I need this to work for my life. So what am I gonna do? I'm gonna over deliver like hell to make sure you have the best experience. So like for me, it's like again, I love that because for me, dude, like literally I have to do that to succeed. Like for me, I want clients. I want them to stay on board. I want
their success is your success.
Even this, bro. Like the reason why I'm gonna take this super seriously, make sure you have a good experience. Bring Aditya, bring my brother, have all these awesome lights, cameras, because I want you to have a great experience, and not a way of like, oh, super transactional. I want to come back to you, but more of like, you want to do everything the right way, and that this has to be done the right way for it to succeed, for me to succeed. So I think that's a great way to approach life. I think like again, we're kind of dropping some bars right now for people watching at home, but the whole thing is like, if you want to succeed, you have to put really like make sure you do the best. Again, if you're a janitor, if you're gonna be janitor, own the janitorship. Like put everything you have into it, make sure it's successful. Again, I was about over delivering, but over deliver and let people know that. Like this is something I always say, but it's sarcastically like, oh, like so like should I come back? What do you think? I'm like, I mean, yeah, man, I try to make a living off of you, so I'm gonna try my hardest to make it work. That's what I tell every client. So I think that's a big philosophy mindset that if you know that this is what it takes to be successful, you gotta show it and be that guy.
Yep. No, I completely agree, man.
Yeah, dude. Again, like I love this because I probably could talk to you for hours and hours and hours. But one thing I kind of want to hear lastly from you is, what's the goal now, man? Like you're doing so much. You talked about it in the beginning, like you're working at your job. You have these two companies. You're gonna be an MC. So obviously, if all these things like they're all part of the plan. But what does your next year look like for you? Because I think most people want to know. They are confused about their own future. So hearing someone else talk about their plan, so I talk about mine all the time. Yeah. So what is the future of Austin Thomas? So what can we expect from you in 2024 and 2025?
the same pursuit of just I think continual improvement, right? You got this book right here, Atomic Habits.
Yeah.
It's one of the books that changed my life.
It's my first self-help book.
Yeah.
Man.
And I don't say that lightly in terms of just like, and I won't get into too many details, but just bad habits and things like that. Like, especially in this generation, like gambling and sports betting, I know you mentioned it lightly, but is just like takes over people's lives and things like that. Yep. But just the constant pursuit of continual improvement, being a better you tomorrow than you were today, I think is always what I'm looking for. But, obviously continue grinding out the companies. I think the real estate avenue is going to be a really cool, something you're going to see in terms of just the aspect I go at it with. I'm a very social being. So once I get the technique around, finding this family, their right home, I think it's going to be a complete experience in terms of being able to relate with them on a social level, be able to really understand them as people is going to be good. But I think I'm going to bring a lot of value in the real estate realm. And that's not just the residential selling aspect, but then also like an investment standpoint. Yeah. Being able to, it's what my dad's done for a living, buy and flip properties, buy and sell properties, buy and rent properties. Yeah. To be able to get into that is definitely, not in the next year, but it's definitely something I'm going to do. But real estate, emceeing is going to be a cool gig, and stay tuned for that. And then obviously the companies. But again, I there's so many blessings that, like, my family, my brother, having a great boss, Drew Reckner, right? In terms of being able to being able to work at a corporate company and still do what I'm doing entrepreneurially. Like, people ask, like, how do you have a 9-to-5 and still do this?
Seriously.
Because of the flexibility that the company has allowed me for, right? So, being able to have all those kind of things, I don't take lightly. I know our blessings. I know we're fortunate, but I'm not one of those, like, stay tuned and then, like, you don't know what's going to happen, right? Like, it's all like, glory to God. Hopefully I can stay healthy, but I'm trying to stay on top of my health and those kind of things. But if I can get all those blessings, I'm confident in my abilities and what I'm going to do and hopefully accomplish. But my biggest goal is not to earn money. I think it's to make my parents proud. You ever see the Leon Edwards? You should clip it. But the Leon Edwards, after he beat Usman, he's like, "Mama, I did it." And it's him just crying. But like, that always gives me chills. Like, if you can make your parents proud on that level, like, that's a different, it's not millions of dollars. That's a different, like, level of happiness.
Even, like, to hear how you're tied with your family, what they've done. When you have, especially like my parents or your parents, they sound like they're pretty, like, accomplished beings, right? It's like, all you want is to give back from people who gave it to you. Yeah. So for me, I'm like, dude, I'm sure you've seen the videos of where someone, like, this one, I think it was actually one of those streamers, Jinxie or someone. His dad was his only Twitch viewer for a year.
I saw that.
And then he literally, after now, he brings his dad outside of his house, and his dad's, like, $200,000 dream car is right there.
Yeah,
and he's like, here. And I was like, that's all I want. Dude, that would be the most amazing feeling ever.
And even in his big stream, I forgot the number on that. I know that TikTok you're talking about. It was like 500,000 viewers or something. And his dad was still in the chat. That's a different level. Like, because, and I'm not saying you're on day one, but, like, people who can support you at this stage are also going to be there later versus when you get later. All these people are going to hop on the wave. Yo, Darsh, it's sick what you're doing. Where did you get these mics from? Where'd you get? They're all going to start hopping on, right? But I'm saying, like, it's day one people that, like, believe in you, and it's going to be your family. It's going to be your closest friends. It's going to be all those people that don't judge you. Those are going to be the ones that are going to be with you for the ride, and you got to keep those people around.
And that's why I'm excited about this relationship too, man, because you're part of the day. You're part of the, I call it the Growth Street gang. Yeah. You're part of the Growth Street gang. You're part of the family now. And again, like, even where you are now, like, I think you've not even got to 1% of where you're going to be. And, like, hearing your story and bro, and just hearing your story, man, and, like, seeing what you're doing, even like I can just see it in your eyes that you really want to do this and you really want to, like, be that guy. And hearing how you have this approach to the companies you've built, what you've done, and where you're going, dude, like, I'm excited for that, man. Like, again, I'm gonna go into my whole thank you part where stop me too much if I say thank you too much, man. I always apologize. I always tell everyone I say thank you too much. So just stop me, but
better to show gratitude than not, right?
Yeah, man. I just want to say thank you, bro. Like, for being here, being part of my dream. I'm sure you were here your first 6 months when you launched your first company, and you know how hard it is, bro. And again, the fact that you're here able to collaborate with me, and we talked about it before, but the value, right? The value triangle is that I want to provide something to you in this experience. You're providing me with your presence, and as well as your kind of touch with your whole audience and everything like that. But then also we're putting on for our people, which is the most important thing. Yeah. And I think the fact that we get to do all this cool work, but also just we're now boys now, man. Like, I'm gonna be tuned into all your stuff. You're gonna be tuned into my stuff. My next birthday party, you get that invite.
Oh,
we'll have a good time.
That.
I don't know if we'll ball. It sounds like you're too good at basketball, so I don't know if we're gonna play basketball together.
I don't think you want to.
I don't know if I want that smoke, but dude, seriously appreciate you, man. So thank you so much for coming here and being part of this journey for me.
Yeah, no, I've done a few, but when you like vibe with somebody like this, it just flows. You know what I mean?
It does,
like,
dude. We can talk for hours,
question
bro.
to question. So it was definitely fun to just chop it up, and we'll definitely have some fun with the clips from this as well.
That's why I also wanted to give you your time to talk to the camera and me to kind of give your shout outs, because I want to give you the opportunity to, again, you've lived your life, done all these amazing things.
Like, comment,
literally, this is your moment to plug who you want to plug. Have your special shout outs. Do whatever you want to do, man.
Nah, if you want to tune into anything I'm doing, it's Austin Thomas 02 or Austin_Thomas 02 on Instagram, and then all it's just at JERPA on Instagram, at Fit2Fulfill on Instagram. But Austin Thomas is like a generic name, so maybe you won't find it unless you have some mutuals. But tune in. I try, and I think the biggest thing for me is, like, before I didn't want to be behind the scenes, and now, like, I understand the importance of a personal brand because it's so cool. People, and maybe this is something you and I think you're doing a little bit of it as well with that the 10K a month post, but so many people don't really care about this end product of, like, oh, I built this $1 billion business. They want to see, like, how did you build it? Oh, and I could send you some pictures. Like, back when I started JERPA, like, inventory was on the bed. I slept on my couch for a year and a half. Like, all of those stages, people, like, love that more than they love the end product, right? So, again, the yapper's yapping, but I was just saying, if you want to see any of the behind-the-scenes stuff from the storage unit with We Up and everything we're doing, definitely tune into the Instagrams and all that kind of stuff. TikTok, I do as well. You'll see the TikTok shop. If you cringe, but I still don't care.
No, guys, seriously, go to, what's JERPA's website?
JERPAjeans.com.
Go to JERPAjeans.com. I just had his jacket he brought me as a present. Thank you so much again for that.
Of course, bro. No worries.
Recommend. The quality is butter, so you guys better get one of those. Fit2Fulfill, if you're a company who wants to get, outsourced clothing and things like that, I want you guys to work with us in there. And speaking of clothing, I do have something for you.
Oh, man.
So just don't look my way. I'm going to bring something to you real quick.
Oh, God.
This is from me to you. This is your welcoming present to the Grove Street family. I know it's not JERPA, but it's Grove Street drip.
I'm like,
man.
Dude, what is this?
Yeah. It's a water bottle.
This is a nice shirt, bro.
Yeah.
I love it, bro. I'm going to rep this for sure.
Yeah,
you should have given this to me before with the overdraft. And like Grove Street. No, this is nice. I appreciate this, bro.
Man. Thank you. We're just getting started with some of this stuff, but we want to just give it to people who are part of our journey. So everyone who works for Grove Street or is a podcast guest, we want you guys to really feel like, again, what I say is if you've done any help with this company, whether you're external, internal, whatever it is, like, you are part of the family. And again, like, my goal is like yours. I want to be the biggest person ever. I want to have real impact on the world. Like, for me, the people that I coach, my family, my brothers, my parents and all of that. And we're going to look back on this moment and say, you're part of the day one group, man. And,
I appreciate it.
And dude, like, all I could say is I'm so appreciative. Like, I'm sure everyone who watches has made this far has loved the episode so far, and it's only the beginning, man. It's only the beginning. The
craziest is how we were saying, like, oh, day one, you're still going to be proud. Like, you might have some crazier camera, crazier lighting, crazy mics where you're like, yo, we had that at day one. Like, no matter how hard you try, day one's still going to look like a day one.
Exactly.
So,
I look back at the first podcast we made, man, and I'm like, yo, what were we doing?
Absolutely. But it's been fun to chop it up. I appreciate you having me on, seriously. And I'm excited to watch the podcast back. Like, yo, I said too much.
Yeah. Everyone go tune into Austin's stuff. Super appreciative for you being here again. Thank you so much. And hope you guys like today's episode. Like, subscribe, comment, share if anyone's interested. And yeah, guys, that was a wrap. Cut.
Yes, sir.
Sweet, bro.